Hello and welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be taking you through my top 5 exercises for you to grow your triceps. Now, before I get started, there are 2 things that I need to say. The first thing is that the triceps will get hit very effectively during all types of presses. It could be dumbbell presses, it could be a barbell press, it could be a machine press, it could be a bodyweight press, it could be dips, it could be anything. The triceps will be hit very effectively during these presses, particularly at the lockout portion of the movement. This is because the role of the tricep is to extend the elbow. So at the last point of a press, where the only thing left to do is extend the elbows to lockout, the triceps are the muscle that will be primarily moving that weight. So they will be hit very well during presses. Now, my list today doesn't include presses in it because they also heavily involve the chest and or the shoulders. If you are going to train your triceps in conjunction with chest and shoulders, maybe on a push day, I would definitely recommend doing presses, and I would focus on locking your arms out and squeezing your triceps at the top if you are wanting to develop your triceps more. And I would then go into isolation exercise for the chest, for the shoulders, and I would use the exercises on my list today as your tricep isolation exercises. The reason that presses aren't on the list is because you might not be wanting to hit your chest and shoulders at the same time. You might be doing, for instance, an arm day where you do biceps and triceps in conjunction, in which case you don't also want to hit the chest and shoulders, you want to hit them on their day, and you want to isolate the triceps fully. So that is what this list will focus on. And the second thing that I need to say is that, as always, there are 4 things that I am looking for from an exercise when determining how good it is for training a muscle. How much of a stretch the muscle gets, how much of a contraction the muscle gets, how isolated the muscle is, and how heavy you can load the exercise. I prioritize isolation above all other factors because if you isolate a muscle fully, it has to respond to the training stimulus that you apply to it. You'll hear varying things in the fitness space. Some people might prioritize load. They might say lift heavy weights to get big muscles. I disagree with that because I think that if you do those heavy compound lifts, your genetic strong points can take over. So for training triceps, if you're doing presses, even though I think they're fantastic for training the triceps, if your genetic strong points are your chest and your shoulders, they could take over during the movement, particularly if you're not locking your arms out fully and squeezing the triceps at lockout. Your chest and your shoulders might overtake the exercise, and even if you get stronger on a press, it might just be because your chest and your shoulders are getting stronger. But if you isolate the tricep, it has to grow. So that is why this list will prioritize tricep isolation exercises. As always, that is just my opinion. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments down below and tell me your favorite tricep exercise. But without further ado, let's get to it. And coming in spot number 5 are head tucks. Head tucks are an obscure exercise, so you might not have heard of them before, but I think they're a very effective way to train your triceps. The strengths of head tucks are that you get a full lockout and contraction at the top, and you get an amazing stretch at the bottom, as long as you let your head go all the way under the bar and your triceps come all the way up for the stretch. The weaknesses of this exercise are that your triceps aren't completely isolated because you can also use your lats to pull your arm down when extending up, and you have to think of engaging your core. Your abs are required for stability during this exercise, otherwise your body just caves down and you sort of just fall apart like wet spaghetti. The other weakness of this exercise is that it is hard to track accurately when you progressively overload this exercise. So the way to progress this exercise is to move the bar downwards. As you move the bar down, more of your weight goes into your arms and into your triceps. However, if you then move your feet back towards the bar, you've actually inclined your torso more again. So you've sort of cancelled out moving the bar down. So it's not as clean cut as, oh, the bar's 3 inches lower this week than it was last week, if your foot placement is different, you might have basically cancelled that out. So if you are wanting to accurately track how you progressively overload an exercise, it is an issue compared with something like a bench. You literally go, I was bench pressing 40 kilos, I'm now bench pressing 50 kilos. I'm 10 kilos stronger. It's very clean cut. This exercise isn't quite like that. However, general rule of thumb, just train and exercise hard, and you will see the benefits from it. You don't have to perfectly track every exercise. You can just literally set a bar to a height that's challenging and just do some good, like 3 sets of head tucks. That's how I program them. But if you are wanting to accurately track your progressive overload, this exercise is an issue. Overall, I do find head tucks a very effective exercise for training the triceps. And coming in spot number 4 is the JM press. Now this is a fantastic exercise for hitting the head of your tricep that comes all the way down to your elbow and helping you get big full triceps. There are 3 heads to the tricep, that's why it's called the tricep, and the JM press prioritizes the head that comes all the way down to the elbow. Now, the strengths of this exercise is that you get a great contraction and a fantastic isolation on the movement. You can load it pretty heavy, but most people load it too heavy, and the stretch is not perfect because the most stretched version of the tricep is all the way back here and the JM press just comes here, but you should still be able to feel a stretch on your tricep at the bottom of the movement. However, it is primarily a contraction and isolation exercise for the tricep. The main weakness of the JM press though is actually people doing it incorrectly. That is because it is a very technical press and it's unlike the way that you do any other press. So people fall into sort of a close grip bench press technique when doing it, and often they're trying to up the weight too much and you just fall into the close grip bench because you're so much stronger in a close grip bench than you are in a real JM press. However, the first thing you should do in a JM press is drop the weight and make sure that you get it right. The second thing is that the bar should stay at above your chin to your neck throughout the whole movement, and it should go up and down vertically. It shouldn't be above your chest like a close grip bench. The third thing is that you shouldn't grab it wide like a regular bench or anything like that. It should be around shoulder width apart or slightly in from your shoulders. The wrists should stay facing up. The knuckles should stay facing up throughout the whole exercise. So they start facing up, and as they come down, they should still be facing up. So your wrist sort of curls in during the exercise and then represses back up. You shouldn't just be lowering the bar back. These knuckles should be facing up through the exercise. But the most important thing is that your elbows should be flared upwards. If your elbows are not flared forward in particular, they can flare outwards a little bit, but they shouldn't be flared out to the side and pressing. They should be flared forwards, and the bar should be coming down, and then they should be popping up. And at the bottom, if you have got slightly bigger arms, your forearms should basically rest on your biceps, and that's how you know you've hit the bottom of the movement, and then you press back to lockout. That is quite technical. But if you do it properly, you will feel your triceps screaming in this exercise. It is a fantastic exercise for hitting that full long head of the tricep coming down into your elbow. But you absolutely need to make sure that you're doing it properly. Otherwise, you start to like contract your chest in and involve your upper chest. You're moving it down and you're getting your front delts involved. It ends up becoming just a sort of bad, weird version of a close grip bench. So I would advise, if you're going to do this exercise, it's fantastic. Learn the technique fully. Try and be really strict with this exercise. There is videos of JM teaching this exercise on YouTube. I would advise going and watching them. That is where I learned how to do it. And I would also advise loading this exercise with bands if you have the ability to. That is because when training the triceps at the top of the movement, you are stronger than you are further down in the movement. So during a JM press at the bottom, your triceps are trying really hard, but by the top, often you can just then lock them out pretty easily. It's an easier portion. However, with a band, the band has less tension at the bottom and is easier, and at the top it is heavier. So doing this exercise with bands means that the band's resistance matches your strength curve, and that means that it is hard during the entire movement. This does mean that you will then have to drop the weight that you have on the bar. It will become a challenging movement for the entire time, but that means that the time under tension and the mechanical tension on your triceps throughout this movement will be constant. It will be very challenging and it will make your triceps grow. So I will definitely recommend doing the JM press, and if you have access to bands or chains or some accommodating resistance, that is the method of loading that I would prefer. But you have to make sure you do the right technique, which like 99% of people don't do when doing JM presses. Anyway, on to the next exercise. And coming in spot number 3 are tricep pushdowns. These are great because you can load them heavy and they get a great contraction on the triceps at the bottom of the movement. If you think of fully extending your elbows and squeezing your triceps, you will contract your triceps very well. You can also isolate your triceps amazingly with this exercise if you keep your elbows fixed in position and your whole body still. If you do that, your triceps are the only muscle responsible for extending your elbows. So if you keep yourself still, your triceps have to extend the weight down. So you will isolate them properly if you keep your elbows fixed in position. The weakness of this exercise is that you don't get an amazing stretch on the triceps. The weight comes up to here, and whilst the elbow is bent, the fully stretched position of the tricep is all the way up here. Now, to overcome this, my advice is to simply pair this exercise with another exercise that does hit the stretch portion of the tricep very well, like the first exercise, head tucks, and some of the other exercises that are to come. So overall, tricep extensions are a fantastic exercise for hitting the contraction of the tricep. And coming in spot number 2 are skull crushers. These are a fantastic exercise for isolating the triceps and keeping the tension on the triceps the entire way throughout the exercise if you do the right technique. Some of the limitations of skull crushers are that you don't get the perfect stretch on the exercise, and whilst your elbows fully lock out and you can get a great contraction, the tricep is not in its most contracted form, which is all the way down and back compared with the skull crusher lockout, which is up here. What you need to make sure you do when doing skull crushers is send your elbows over your head, like back and over your head. If your elbows are directly above your shoulders and you're locking out skull crushers vertically, you are resting at the top of the movement. What you need to do is send your elbows back over your head so that there is tension on the triceps throughout the entire movement. When your elbows locked, your arms should be at an angle. And you should make sure that your elbows are fixed in position. If your elbows are moving around and if you're like pulling them down and using momentum, you're involving your lats, you're involving momentum, you're taking the tension off the triceps. But if you do this exercise properly, it will keep the tension on the triceps so well. It is fantastic, and like the JM press, you can also use bands on this exercise because you are stronger at the lockout portion than you are at the bottom. If you do that, you will really find that this exercise is challenging throughout the entire range of motion. It will be so hard at the bottom, and you will then find it really hard to lock out because the band tension will increase as your strength curve increases as well. So overall, skull crushers are a fantastic exercise for the triceps. And coming in spot number 1 are tricep extensions. They've got triceps in the name, all sorts of tricep extensions are fantastic. This is a bit of a cheat answer because there are so many variations of tricep extensions, and I would actually use different variations of tricep extension in conjunction with one another. For instance, overhead tricep extensions get a fantastic stretch on the tricep. You'll get hitting the tricep in its most stretched position, elbow bent and sent above your head. You can then also do tricep extensions in like a tricep kickback style and bring your elbow all the way behind you and contract your arm. That is the most contracted state of the tricep. So I would do kickback style tricep extensions on top of overhead tricep extensions. What you should aim to do is keep your tricep fixed in position. Like I said, that will isolate the tricep because the tricep then is the only thing responsible for extending the elbow. Overall, tricep extensions, fantastic. They basically get an amazing stretch depending on which variation you use, an amazing contraction depending on which variation you use. You can load them well because the tricep is so isolated. It won't be very heavy like a press, but it doesn't need to be because all of that weight is being placed on your tricep, and obviously they isolate the triceps fantastically, provided you keep the triceps fixed in position. They're basically the best exercise for the triceps, completely unbeaten. You can't beat a tricep extension. So that is my top 5 list. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful. Maybe you just found out about head tucks and find them really good. If you did, drop the video a like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell, all of that good stuff. There will be a link to my coaching services in the description. So if you don't want to have to bother programming for yourself and finding out what the best exercise is, sign up to my programming. It's online. You will get a full bespoke training plan that I will make for you based on your time available, your goals, anything like that. Go and check it out. You'll see what I can do. And have a great day.